They finally changed the kickoff rule in the NFL. I am ecstatic.
Are you?
Yes.
You like this?
I love this because kickoffs have gotten so boring.
True that.
Nothing ever happens. Nobody ever returns a kick. They're blasting it out of the end zone. It's dumb. Now you have to, it's essentially going to be what the XFL did, where you have the guys, the kicker is still going to be on the 35 kicking off, but everybody on the kickoff team is going to be down on the other team's 40, right? Yeah, they're 40.
Yes.
And they're lined up basically 10 yards apart, and you have a drop zone that the ball has to go in for a return. It actually forces returns while keeping players from darting down the field at 50 miles an hour, 50 yards of a head start, just plowing into each other. I think it benefits everything from making it more exciting to more creative to opportunities where there's going to be games where, like, the Steelers just signed Cordell Patterson, right?
Yeah.
Like that now. Kick return specialists are going to be more valuable again, and maybe you can find some creative ways to get some end-arounds, reverses, different types of things that you can use to get yourself a bigger return. So I think it changes that whole market, and it changes the dynamic of a lot of these games.
That is the division to look at, right? Because it was so weird last year to see a Jacksonville Jaguars team, which was picking first 2 consecutive drafts, go from that to minus 160 to win that division. And, they were 8-3, a huge favorite midseason, and obviously fell apart. You saw Indianapolis and Houston both have a shot to win that at the end there. And now I think Houston is probably considered one of the favorites to unseat Kansas City in the AFC. They have a rookie quarterback or quarterback on a rookie contract. They have a young head coach. My former colleague at PFF, Bobby Slowick, is the offensive coordinator. He stays for another year, and they bring in Donnell Hunter and to rush the passer on that side, Azeez El-Shire at linebacker. I think that's a team where the market is probably catching up to them. To me, if I'm looking at this division, I'm looking at a long shot. I'm actually looking at Tennessee, and I know you guys were talking at the very end of last segment about what they were doing. But I like Brian Callahan. I like bringing in his dad, Bill, to run the offensive line. That was a huge weakness for them last year. And I do like the fact that they lose Derrick Henry, bring in Tony Pollard, allow that offense to kind of run through Will Levis. And look, Will Levis probably stinks, but he has the arm strength and the athleticism to be pretty good. You surround him with Hopkins and Ridley and a defense, again, that I think will – has always produced better than the talent. I think that that's the long shot to take in this division, whereas last year the long shot was probably Houston.
We were talking about the Cleveland Browns, and it feels like this may be a stay away just because they could win double-digit games, or they could win 6 or 7. In that division, what feels like the lockiest total to you?
It feels like when I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm looking at 8.5 wins.
Yeah.
And I know these are famous last words literally every single year because they always, have a winning record or better. But when I look at this team, I just don't see necessarily the talent. Deontay Johnson was a very good compliment to George Pickens, who I think is going to have a little bit of a down year with Russell Wilson and or Justin Fields in there. I think the offensive line played better down the stretch last year, but Harris and Warren, I think, were a little bit flash in the pan, like running the football at the end of the season last year. And on defense, Highsmith and Watt are very good, but aside from that, everybody's getting a little bit older. They lost Patrick Peterson, who I think was a pretty solid contributor a season ago. So that's the team, I think, where you have to look under. Every other team has a lot going for it. The Bengals, I think, are going to be pretty good. They brought in Geno Stone. They brought in a really good Zach Moss from the Indianapolis Colts to run the football. I think he's a huge upgrade over Joe Mixon. The Ravens lost a lot of people, but you've never made money betting unders on the Baltimore Ravens in the John Harbaugh era. And obviously, Trisha, as you said, Cleveland, I think Cleveland could go either way. They have a Coach of the Year candidate, head coach every single year in Stefanski, and you got to think that Deshaun Watson has elite-level quarterback play in there somewhere, especially now that they've gotten him Jerry Jeudy to go along with Elijah Moore, David Njoku, and, of course, Amari Cooper.
I know a lot of people are going to make the case for Arizona. I just think 7.5 is way too many points. Total in that game, 151.5. What are your thoughts on that one, the first game we got coming up on Thursday?
So I'm a Clemson guy. I had Clemson going and beating New Mexico, and then I thought they were going to beat Baylor. And I really like, Clemson's a different team from everybody else. We talk about guard play in the NCAA tournament. Well, it's the forwards that are driving Clemson. P.J. Hall, Ian Shefflin, Chauncey Wiggins, R.J. Godfrey. Like, these are guys that are doing the dirty work inside, and you basically have Joe Girard and Chase Hunter as your guards for Clemson. That's about it. They've got other guys that they rotate in, but it's those two guys who kind of make things go. And so I think it's a really interesting thing to prepare for because the guards are getting these guys inside that are involved. I agree with you. I think it's way too many points. The one thing I'm concerned about is I just don't think Clemson's defense is as good as it's been these last two games. Maybe they caught lightning in a bottle. Maybe they'll continue to play that way, but they're going to need to play defense on Arizona to win that game. I think they cover Clemson, and I think the over comes into play because I just don't quite trust Clemson's defense in this situation, but I don't think they'll have any problem scoring in this one.
Speaking of trust, we really didn't have any trust when it came to Marquette, not knowing what Tyler Kolek's status was going to be throughout at least the conference tournaments. We saw a guy that looked kind of like the old Tyler Kolek out there again. Do you trust Marquette? They're 6.5-point favorites against NC State, and NC State's riding that ride right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you've got a Marquette team that wants to turn you over, and you've got an NC State team that's 10th in turnover percentage on offense, so they just don't turn it over. And if you allow a team like NC State to kind of hang around with the confidence they already have, I mean, obviously, look, you look at a guy like DJ Burns, he runs that offense with the assists, with the points and things like that. Like, he's just kind of the catalyst for the whole thing. I think if Marquette struggles to force turnovers, I think NC State stays in this thing. I also think it'll be interesting to see how much NC State gets to the line. Marquette doesn't foul a ton. So that's an opportunity for NC State to get some easy points at the free throw line, but Marquette's not going to put them there. So I think this one's a good live betting situation. We kind of see early on how NC State handles the pressure. If they're not turning it over and can run their offense, I think the Wolfpack can cover as an underdog here.
Marquette feels more like the old Marquette, the Marquette we remember. Tyler Kolek looks more like the Tyler Kolek we remember. But NC State's on a run, and I love the teams, and I know every run's pretty much got to go to an end unless you win a national championship, and I don't think NC State's doing that. Should we still ride NC State plus 6.5, or is this Marquette's time here?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're in the Sweet 16, man. Like, every single game, if you're doing this right and you're looking at it the right way, should give you pause. You know what I mean? Like, this is the margins are disappearing between these teams. I don't know how you fade NC State right now. Like, Big Boy just kind of has an aura about him, that or a gravitational pull. But I don't really know how you fade him at this point. I don't really think Marquette is very good because they're coached by Shaka Smart. They should have lost to Colorado. Okay, they were in control in the first half. My God, they were shooting 78%, and they were up 11 at the half. Immediately, just start gagging all over themselves. I sometimes think we can get to these games where when a team is like Oregon. Oregon is a perfect example. Oregon really should have beat Creighton. They lost that game about 15 different times. It was brutal. It was brutal. And I kind of think NC State is in the same boat, right? They've been playing such high leverage, high intensity basketball to get here. And I'm just not a believer at all in Shaka Smart in these spots. I mean, I love Cam Jones. They have some shot makers, and they do have a great offense, believe me. But, man, you can punch them in the mouth, and they will wobble 100%. And so I think that's going to be the key for NC State, and I think they'll be successful. So if I was betting this, it would definitely be NC State in the points.
Yeah, I kind of like that, too. Marquette, man, when they are hitting shots, boy, they are dangerous. Like you said, Creighton shouldn't have won that game. It should be Oregon versus Tennessee right now. We have, 60 seconds max, and we can roll this baby over to the next segment. But Creighton, Tennessee, talk me out of just hammering Tennessee money line or Tennessee minus 2.5.
Very simple bet. Creighton's going to play drop coverage. That's what they do. It's what Cogburner does, what they've done all season long. So basically what that means is they're going to make Tennessee make shots. And if you believe that Tennessee is better than what they showed against Texas from three, and they're going to regress to the mean and be just average from three, you should bet Tennessee and you should lay the points. If you, for whatever reason, believe that their shooting performance against Texas was predictive and that they really are going to struggle from the perimeter and not be able to make shots in the NCAA tournament, then you should take Creighton +3. So it really just depends on what you believe, because Creighton's going to give them the shots. There's no question about it. They're going to live with it. They're going to play drop coverage and try to get every loose rebound, and that's the way they're going to play. So it just comes down to what you feel. Do you believe Tennessee is better than what they showed against Texas? If you do, you should lay the points. And if you don't, you should take Creighton probably on the money line.